I'm fully aware that many of you that are with us this morning might be unfamiliar with the events that occurred close to this spot almost 67 years ago. And yet if we were faced with a similar loss of 10 young lives in one incident today, we'd be absolutely horrified. And even more so if we were to learn that 7 of those lost were under the age of 23. Yet believe it or not, that's exactly what happened. On Saturday morning in August 1944, experienced pilot John Ellis and a crew of 9 took off with 34 other B-24 Liberators from their base at Wendling in Norfolk. Their mission that day was to attack an airfield northeast of Paris, which was being used by the German Luftwaffe. The weather that morning was heavy overcast, and by the time the group had formed up close to the North Norfolk coast, the sortie was already running half an hour behind schedule. The group headed south on a course for Brighton in Sussex, but at 07:47 a.m, flying at a height of 18,500 feet just northeast of London, something happened. A mysterious mid-air incident occurred, causing 29 tons of bomb-laden aeroplane to start tumbling from the sky, with the subsequent death of all on board a few minutes later. And yet if it were not for the actions of those on the flight deck, the death toll could have been catastrophically higher. After years of research, I now know exactly what caused this tragic accident. 10 young men lost their lives that day. 10 more families torn apart as a consequence of war. I would like to now hand you over to World War II firefighter Ernie Havis to briefly tell his experience on the ground that day and how the story was conveyed at the time. The 12th of August 1944, the day I will never forget.
Ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests, these words that I wrote, I'm going to read. My friend Janet Stocker said to me, when I asked her to type them up, she said they should have a title. So I gave that some thought, and I've got a title. And I'm calling my words Beyond Courage. I would ask you all to take those 2 words home with you. To me, they mean a great deal, and they should mean a great deal to everybody that values their freedom. My name is Ernie Havis. The 12th of August 1944, a Saturday morning, that is when the plane crashed at 3 minutes past 8. After the fire, when it hit the ground, the bombs exploded, but not all of them, and cannon shell was scattered everywhere. I had just come off of night duty, dealing with Hitler's new weapon, the V1s. I was 15 years old and had been a firefighter for almost 2 years. I believed I had seen all the horrors and hurt of war, but the sight before me was of total destruction. The images have stayed in my mind to this very day. I will not tell you the state of my mind on that day, but as I formed heaps, I handled every part with the greatest respect I could possibly muster. Those lads made the ultimate sacrifice to give us all our freedom today. It was not until the next day that I learned the true story of the air crash. After the Liberator, containing those 10 young brave lads, plus a full load of bombs, had come out of the clouds, and the crew saw the town below, despite having difficulty controlling their damaged aircraft, as seen by witnesses at that time, those 10 very brave lads stayed with their bomb-laden vessel and crashed it on the edge of Cheshunt town, away from their houses, just across there in actual fact. They could have bailed out, but they stayed with their stricken bomber, thus saving hundreds of lives. That is true courage, ladies and gentlemen, of the highest order. In my lifetime, ladies and gentlemen, I have experienced fear. In 1943, after a bad injury, I nearly crossed to the other side. How I've tried to understand their courage and bravery, but I'm not in their league. The 10 true gentlemen gave their lives for many. That day, I made a promise that I would one day have a memorial built there in recognition of their unselfish actions, and it is a privilege and an honour to finally realise that promise in their memory. They will not be forgotten, and it is a credit to you all to come to this unveiling. I understand how proud your family members must feel that are here today, and my thanks go to Mr. Lee Williamson, our sponsor, and David Parnell for helping me to fulfil my promise. Thank you.
Significant time, we pause to honour all those who laid down their lives in war, particularly remembering those from other shores who in those years answered the call to serve and as a result lost their lives. On this day, we especially remember.
At this significant time, we pause to honour all those who laid down their lives in war, particularly remembering those from other shores who in those years answered the call to serve and as a result lost their lives. On this day, we especially remember. This is the crew who bravely brought that plane down in Cheshunt and saved the lives. John D. Ellis, Samuel C. Stalsby, Robert B. Cox, Stanley F. Jankowski, Clare W. Hultengren, John H. Holling, J.V. Cable, Jack O. Shaeffer, Frank Minick Jr., William McGinley.
Present hard. Horse. Hard.